This is Shockwave News Live. You can find me online at twitter.com/Shockwave News. And of course, I'm on social media on tumblr.com/Shockwave News. And now on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Shockwave News. Now let's get right into the news. I got an interesting article I want to share with you, dated today, Tuesday, April 14th, 2020, out of naturalnews.com. Naturalnews.com. That's where the article comes from. The headline is Cold War Brewing Between the U.S. and China as the Coronavirus Outbreak Spreads. The news article goes on to say the tensions that have mounted since the start of the global corona pandemic have slowly pushed the U.S. and China closer to a new Cold War. The political pressures stemming from the pandemic have strengthened hardliners while making it harder for leaders to back away from escalation. As the virus has killed thousands and savaged economies around the world, officials in Washington and Beijing have continued to heap blame on each other for the virus. Early on, President Trump often referred to the coronavirus as the Chinese virus, which I got that was very interesting. I got a chuckle out of that. Meanwhile, Chinese state-owned media and political operatives have slammed the statements of America political elites as being racist and xenophobic. Beijing has even gone as far as to spin allegations that the epidemic was started by the U.S. military. The outbreak is stirring anger in both countries. We know that. Officials in Washington have quietly pressed for international censure of China's culpability in the ongoing pandemic. All at the same time, they've seized upon the crisis to attack the manufacturing and economic ties that has been built between the countries over the past 40 years. Let me stop right there. Back in the day, this goes back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we had things made in China, but not as much. Might have been 20%, maybe 30%. Now, almost 95% of everything, all of the junk you buy, everything that you buy at the store, every drug that you take, 95% of all the crap us Americans buy is from China. And now, look at the situation now. We're realizing if China wanted to, China can cut off the manufacturing of pharmaceutical drugs. Since we all thought that's all the businesses here, the capitalism, all the businesses and manufacturers took their business to China because labor is cheap. Well, we're finding out through President Trump that we did that, we might have cut off our nose to spite our face. Or in other words, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have put our eggs in one basket all because of cheap labor, because look what happens. They can control us. Should any type of Cold War or any war break out between us and China, all China has to do is push a button and cut us off. They can say no exports to the United States, and we're done. We're done because we relied on one entire country to supply all of America for all of our needs. 95% of everything we get is from China practically. Well, the answer to that, obviously, and I think the people in Washington know this, is to diversify. You have good Asian countries if you want to do business in Asia. Hong Kong is still the business leader over there if you want to do business as far as maybe real estate, different things like that. Hong Kong, manufacturing, producing goods and services. The Philippines are excellent. I know they might be lacking in infrastructure. America would have to go in there and maybe build the factories for the Filipinos, but the Filipino worker and different things like that are absolutely fantastic. That's a good resource. Also, Vietnam is a very, very, very good resource. They're an economy that's up and coming and booming. South Korea is very, very, very good. And, of course, we've been doing business with Japan for years and years and years, for decades. They're a very reliable partner. They're very good. Japanese quality on the electronic side, with Sony and different things like that, their quality is very, very good. So there you have 3 or 4 or 5 different things. And, of course, you could always look to Thailand and Malaysia to offset the price and the cost of doing business. I'm sure Malaysia and Thailand, they would be more than happy to have American business, billions of dollars of business. They would love that. Same with Indonesia. There's not any issues there really in Indonesia. So there I named over a half a dozen Asian countries that would be good in the long term, better than China. China's one big massive, I believe 1.7 billion people in China, one big massive pile of people. However, you have a dictatorial society ran by a dictatorial government, Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping is an ex-military guy. All he cares about is how he can be number one. All he cares about is making China number one. All he cares about, he doesn't care who he has to kill, who he has to step on, or anything to achieve that goal. We've seen this, and most of the naive people out here, the naive sheep here in the United States, behind the scenes, China had probably well over 1 million deaths of this coronavirus, but they're not saying anything. The numbers are skewed. And us sheep, we listen to that. We listen to everything that comes out of the propaganda media. Hell, China owns half the media company or has stock in half the media companies, a majority partner over here in the United States. CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, and they have stock in these various companies. So let me tell you, if you have stock in a company and you're a stockholder, for those people out there that don't know this, uneducated and do not know this, if you're a stockholder, a minority as they refer to, or a majority shareholders pull a little more weight than a minority shareholder. What happens is that stockholder, unlike you and me, if he makes a suggestion to the executive running the media company, running the news there, maybe CBS, ABC, NBC, they're going to listen to that person. If he says, well, I don't like all the China bashing, we have to start bashing America. Something has to be anti-America, anti-Trump. We didn't cause this mess, and then that's when the blame game starts. So that media company, in turn, will turn around and listen to that stockholder, that person that might have controlling interest, again, maybe majority stockholder in that company. They'll listen to them, and they'll meet their request, because the stockholder owns shares in the company. So a stockholder, in essence, is like an owner of the company. For most people here in the United States, in case they didn't know that that's how business works, that is exactly how business works. So you have to understand is our media is controlled, a good percentage of it, by the Chinese. And that's why you see all the America bashing and the Chinese denialism of the virus didn't come from Wuhan, China. This goes on and on and on. And the American media, they love to beat up on Trump. That's all they do is Trump, 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 bang, bang, bang. Let's beat up on America and the American people. That's all they do all day. They love this shit. They absolutely love this shit. They love beating up on the American people and the American soldier and our values and our pride that we hold dear here in this country. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we love. That's what we want to aspire to, but that's what the media and the left absolutely positively hate. Now let's go on and finish the article. The outbreak shut down imports from China. Many companies found themselves unable to procure goods they needed to sell to make money. As a result, many U.S. companies started to rethink their supply chains and make plans to move their manufacturing outside of China before the economy ground to a halt. Okay, did everybody understand that? In other words, even finally, U.S. manufacturing companies, and I hope and pray this goes for a lot besides maybe one or two, that they wake up and realize having your eggs in one basket when there's just as good as sources, if not better, labor sources, because that's the big thing. American companies over here, oh, I don't want to pay benefits. I don't want to pay union fees, the dues, union fees, and having to pay your insurance plus that high hourly wage. Geez, I might be paying you $50 by the time we get done, $50 or $60 an hour. They don't want to pay that. Yet, though, they make millions and millions and millions of dollars in profitability, they don't want to pay an honest, hard day's work because they have to pay, especially if you're in a union here in the States, they have to pay union fees and union dues and pay benefits and all that. And they don't want to do that. They'd rather go to China and say maybe pay $2.25 or $3 an hour for a worker over there. They don't have to pay benefits. They don't have to pay liability insurance. You know what? They don't have to pay nothing. So all that money that they would have to pay the American worker over here, they don't have to pay in China. So they save millions and millions and millions of dollars in taxes, number one. And number two, they can take and they can save all that money and reinvest that money, whatever they want to do with it. Of course, a lot of U.S. companies will, when they have big business in China, they'll give themselves a raise, at least the CEO, and they can go back to the stockholders and they say, we moved to China. I just saved you $1 million, let's say, in labor. So they'll take that $1 million and they might split that 3 or 4 ways among the executive management. They might have at least $250,000 raise or a bonus is what they call it nowadays. See, there's all these fancy little games that these companies play because they want to get out of not paying a decent wage here in the United States, a livable wage. So they throw crumbs to the unfortunate being they have business over there in China where they don't have to pay a living wage. They don't have to pay benefits. They don't have to pay basically anything other than just a straight hourly fee. Think about that. And they get around all these rules and all these laws that they have here in the United States. And the reason why they have those laws and rules here in the United States is just so people, like they're doing to the poor workers in China, people aren't taken advantage of. And there's the EEOC, Equal Opportunity Employment Commission. They have these different agencies so that you are not able to, as a business owner, especially if you have more than 50 or more than 100 people plus, you aren't screwing your workers and the people that are working and giving their blood, sweat, and tears for. And so that's what you have to think about. These people end up just screwing these workers left and right. So I'm going to stop right there. I want you to think about that. Think about what I just said and think really, really hard. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the podcast. This is it. This is Shockwave News coming to you live, and this is Shockwave News signing out.